Hi, this is Gurunath. Today I'm going to show you how we can index data from MySql database to Solr by using data import handler of Solr. So for this, I'm going to refer my own blog, which is solrandmysql.blogspot.in, and we'll just go with the flow. Yeah. So here, first of all, we need to create a table in MySQL, any sample table. So here, for example, I have taken employee as an example. I have created this table. So let's have a look at the table employee. So we here have 4 columns, that is employee ID, last name, first name, and city. So we are going to index all the data of these columns into the fields of the document of Solr. So for this we also need to insert some data. So for that I have given the script over here, which the values I have inserted into my sample table employee. So let's see what are the data that is currently present. Okay, there are 4 records currently. Now we are going to index these 4 records into our Solr index file. So there are a couple of methods that we need to follow to index the data from database to Solr in order to use a data import handler of Solr. So for that, what we need to do is we need to create our folder . So I have already created this. So if you have a glance, there is something called as DIH folder created anywhere on your system. You can place it anywhere, but try to keep it inside the Solr home folder. Okay, and then we need to insert some jars like data import handler and data import handler extras jar. Those jars are available in Solr disk folder. So there are plenty other jars available for different purposes as well. So we are going to select these 2 jars and we'll paste it inside DIH. Okay, and there is one more jar which is MySql connector. Since we are using MySql as a database where we have our database data, so to retrieve those data and to update the data and etc., we need this connector jar as we are using in JDBC. Okay, and the next step that we need to do apart from this is to give the path of the jar so that Solr can access it. Okay, so for that we need to go to collection1conf solrconfig.xml. so we'll put a line which is already mentioned on the blog. So this is the path where Solr has to look for the data import handler jars and the connectivity database jars. So this is the path which we need to put, which is the first step to configure to index data from MySql database, or for that matter any other database, to Solr. And the next step that we need to do is to add a request handler to the Solr config so that the database would look for the queries and credentials which are required to access from the database and index those data into Solr. So even this is going to be added in the same solrconfig.xml. So we'll just have a look at this, which I have already added. So if you see here, we have configured a request handler which reads the file, that is database config file, in which we have our database credentials along with the queries. Okay, now the third step that we need to follow is to create the db-data-config.xml file where we put our driver, we mention the URL which is required to connect to the database, and also the schema name, its username and the password, and the query that we are going to hit to the database and get its data and index it with the field values of the Solr. So I have created this folder inside the conf directory itself, that is Solr home example Solr collection conf directory. So let's have a glimpse of what exactly there are contents of this file. Okay, so here we can see that there are 4 column data that we are retrieving, and we are mapping it against the Solr fields. So these are the column values that we are getting, and we are mapping it with the Solr field names. Okay, now moving on to the next step, what we need to do is we need to create these fields in our schema.xml file of Solr. This step is required in order to index the data from database which is already retrieved, but in order to index into the Solr, we need to map it to the particular field types, and we need to also give the type of the field along with whether we need to index it, whether we need to store it as well. Let's have a look at it. So here in the same folder we can see schema.xml. So here I have already added those field names. So that is last name, first name and city name. So the ID field is available over here. Okay, fine. So we have followed 4 steps till now. Now the next step would be to start the Solr server. So in order to index the data, we need to have Solr running. Okay, before that what we need to do is we need to check initially, since previously I have installed some data into Solr. So let me delete it so that we can have a clear look on what exactly is happening. So these are the runtime files that get created. I'll also delete the Solr logs. Okay, now we'll start the Solr server in the example. So Solr is running properly. Let's check it out whether it is working fine. So we can see that the Solr is working fine. Now let's check whether there is any data present already which is indexed or not. So currently there is no data. I'll convert the response format to JSON. We can see that there are no data right now available in the index file. And now we are going to index the data from database to Solr. So for that we need to hit this URL which we have configured the data import handler in our Solr config. So after refreshing it again, we can see that indexing completed, added 4 documents. Okay, now just go to Solr admin panel again and just hit this button and refresh. We can see that all the records that have been in database are indexed over here. So this is it about the Solr. Thank you, and there are a lot more tutorials to roll out. Thank you.